What we're witnessing here is the largest wealth transfer scheme the world has ever seen. It's been going on for quite a long time. This shoveling of wealth right up to the 1% and 2% via this mechanism of easy money, artificially suppressed rates, currency devaluation, which is a wrecking machine for the world economy. You can't have your cake and eat it too. The mechanism here is wiping out the middle class around the entire world, and people are sitting back and
Silver is standing on the edge of a financial
Daily.
explosion.
Subscribe for more.
And almost nobody is ready for what comes next. As global economies teeter on the brink, central banks print trillions to keep the system afloat, and inflation quietly devours wealth. A historic shift is underway. The rich, the powerful, and those who see what's coming are moving their assets, not into stocks, not into real estate, but into hard money. And there's one metal that has been ignored for too long: silver. We've seen this before. In 1980, silver soared to nearly $50 an ounce as inflation spiraled out of control. In 2011, it did it again, skyrocketing 400% in just a few years. And now the conditions are even more extreme. The global financial system is breaking apart, debt levels have reached an unsustainable peak, and yet silver remains one of the most undervalued assets in the world. But that won't last. The truth is, the cracks in the economy are widening, and those who understand history know exactly what's coming next. While the media distracts the public with stock market bubbles and digital currencies, the real money, gold and silver, is being hoarded behind the scenes. Banks, corporations, and billionaires are quietly preparing for a reset. And silver, with its historic role as both an industrial powerhouse and a monetary asset, is about to go parabolic. So what's driving this? Why are experts predicting a silver shortage, a price breakout, and the biggest wealth transfer in history? Stick with me, because by the end of this, you'll understand why silver isn't just a good investment. It's about to become the most important asset of the next decade.
I think what's happening here in the United States is worse in many places, right, than compared to other places in the world right now. But the U.S. dollar now is sending us all a very bad signal, and we need to listen to what the dollar is saying. It's a language. You just got to learn to decipher what's happening. We shouldn't be seeing the dollar fall on a comparative basis to other currencies. We should be seeing that, knee-jerk here. The dollar is generally seen as what? Safe haven, safe haven. It's not happening. No one wants our dollars, not even us, not even people who follow our work. They don't want the dollar. It's being destroyed, along with other central bank issue notes as well. So that's a big tell about what's happening here to the United States. Now, let's just look at this from another perspective. If in fact we were seeing, let's say, dollar strength, I think the dollar index right in the Dixie is below 104, which is a critical level. We're below it right now, which means we could see this could precipitate a much larger drop. Now, if we were seeing the opposite, if we were seeing 108, 109, 110, something around, then you would say, okay, hold on a minute. People are looking at the dollar as a safe haven. It's not. That's a big problem. Now, we also have this issue of the debt market. We've been seeing a whipsaw effect with regard to the U.S. 10-year yield. It's unstable. This instability here, what is it going to require? It's going to require the Fed, in this case, to get in there and buy more debt, which is their goal anyway, since the inception of central banking, to own it all. So there's a couple of things that are going on here. Now, with regard to the market, look, man, I'm going to be the first guy to tell people when I believe that it's the big one. And I keep getting that question. Even this morning, Greg, is this it? No, I don't see this as the big one. Doesn't mean that we can't see a significant sell-off in the stock market, okay? We haven't had a real correction, and I can't even remember. It feels like 1,000 years. We haven't had a normal correction. Markets correct. This looks like, to me, it could precipitate into something worse. But as I'm looking at this right now, it looks like a corrective phase, which we need. Okay, but I'm not saying people should be jumping in here and buying the dip either. I've been doing a daily breakdown, of the technical dynamics in play with regard to the S&P 500 every day now for the past at least a week. And I urge people to look at that. My website, traderschoice.net, top of the second page. I also did a breakdown on the dollar. I did a breakdown on silver. I'm going to be doing this stuff to keep people more in the loop. But that's what's happening here now with regard to, again, dollar, huge tell as of right now. Debt market instability is clearly unstable right now. And then the stock market here, I don't see this right now as the quote unquote big one. The big one's going to begin and end in the debt market. And we're not seeing that yet. All right. And you and I, we're going to keep our people on top of that.
The dollar is dying. Not all at once, not in a sudden crash, but in a slow, relentless collapse that most people don't even notice until it's too late. Every printed dollar, every stimulus package, every reckless government spending spree quietly erodes its value. Inflation isn't just a temporary phase, it's a fundamental shift in the global financial system. And history tells us what happens next. When paper money fails, real assets explode. Look back at the 1970s. Double-digit inflation decimated savings, but silver skyrocketed, soaring over 1,000% in just a few years. In the early 2000s, the Federal Reserve's easy money policies set the stage for another bull run, sending silver from under $5 to nearly $50 in less than a decade. And today, the setup is even bigger. Since 2020, governments have printed more money than at any time in history, flooding the world with trillions of new dollars, euros, and yen. This isn't just inflation. It's currency debasement at an unprecedented scale. And while central banks try to convince the public that inflation is under control, the reality is that the cost of everything, housing, food, energy, is spiraling out of reach. But here's where it gets interesting. Every time the system reaches a breaking point, silver lags behind at first, then it explodes. It's the ultimate contrarian asset, the metal that thrives in chaos. The warning signs are flashing. Rising interest rates are crushing debt-laden economies. Global trust in fiat money is crumbling, and yet silver, sitting at historically low prices, is still ignored by most investors. That won't last. Inflation is just the beginning. As the dollar loses purchasing power, as trust in government-backed money erodes, silver's true role will emerge, not just as a safe haven asset, but as a necessity for those looking to escape the greatest financial crisis in recent history. And the next factor that will send silver surging? A supply crisis unlike anything we've seen before.
First of all, with regard to this new look I got, this is my personal rebellion against what's happening here, trying to step out of Babylon just a little bit. And, so that's what's going on here. And that's okay. Look, man. We all have our little coping mechanisms. Let's start off with it's huge. There's so much happening right now. Clearly, geopolitical issues, instability all over the place here. What I believe is happening here is, unfortunately, the United States is falling off the map in many ways. We're not moving forward. We are going backward. And the world is taking notice here. We have issues with debt, which are insurmountable. You and I have covered this multiple times over the years. Dude, you and I have been at this for a long time. We heard today from our lovely U.S. Treasury Secretary, it's kind of interesting, who's telling us he's blowing off any kind of suggestion that the United States is moving towards a recession. What's the job of the U.S. Treasury Secretary? Let's really boil down to what they're a peddler of U.S. debt. The U.S. Treasury Secretary peddles U.S. debt to the rest of the world. So, of course, you would expect a U.S. Treasury Secretary to tell you how great and rosy everything is because it wants to sell more debt. The world is frankly sick of it, and this Mar-a-Lago Accord, which is this debt restructuring mechanism, is proof again that our debt situation is at a critical mass. Look, man, every way you want to look at it, we got a problem. If you want to focus on a couple of things that I look at all the time, and I've been looking at this a lot as of late, the U.S. dollar on a relative strength basis is a huge, huge tell that we got issues. We've been watching the stock market crater. We're now, the S&P 500 today, as a matter of fact, just entered a correction. So what does this mean? With regard to geopolitical fallout, if you want to call it that, what's going on here, and the markets, the dollar is sending us a signal that it's irrelevant, an irrelevant dollar. How do we know that? Because we should be seeing the dollar on a relative strength basis or comparative moving higher. We're not seeing this. We're seeing the dollar drop and drop and drop and drop. You know me. I study the debt market before I even look at the stock market. I've been telling people this for 1,000 freaking years. So with regard to the stock market, I know everyone's freaking out about it a little bit. This isn't the big one in my opinion because we're not seeing that meltdown in the debt market, which is going to be the precipitating event for a stock market literally crash or meltdown. Now, the economy is crashing around the world, and the United States obviously part of that. And
Silver isn't just another investment. It's a finite resource. And right now, the world is running out of it. For 4 consecutive years, silver has been in a supply deficit, with global demand outpacing available supply by hundreds of millions of ounces. And yet, the mainstream financial world is still asleep. Here's the problem. Silver mining production isn't keeping up. Unlike gold, which is mostly recycled and sits in vaults, silver is consumed. It's used in solar panels, electric vehicles, medical technology, and critical electronics. Once it's used, it's rarely recovered. And now the world is waking up to the fact that there simply isn't enough silver left to meet the exploding demand. Look at the numbers. Total global demand for silver sits at roughly 1.2 billion ounces annually, yet only around 1 billion ounces are produced through mining and recycling combined. That leaves a deficit of over 200 million ounces per year, and the gap is only widening. Meanwhile, inventories on major exchanges like COMEX and the London Bullion Market Association, LBMA, have been drained, with some stockpiles falling by nearly 50% since 2021. The result? A breaking point is approaching. Large industrial buyers, solar panel manufacturers, EV producers, and tech giants are already feeling the pressure. Some are turning to ETFs just to get their hands on physical silver, essentially bypassing traditional supply lines. And this isn't speculation. It's happening right now. A German solar manufacturer recently converted $50 million worth of silver ETFs into physical metal because securing silver on the open market had become too difficult. This is unprecedented. When industrial users begin competing with investors for the same shrinking supply, the squeeze will be unlike anything we've seen before. And when silver supply can't meet demand, there's only one direction the price can go. But this is just the beginning, the next major force behind silver's meteoric rise. It's industrial dominance and why the modern economy can't function without it.
breaking, this is here, I'll read this to you. So President Trump is looking for military options to deal with the Panama Canal issue. All options on the table, including partnering more closely with the Panamanian military to U.S. troops, possibly seizing the canal by force. That's number one. And then the other one, these just came out. President Trump stated that he believes that the annexation of Greenland will happen. And he's saying the United States needs Greenland for international security. I mean, this is pretty incredible, what we're witnessing here. Okay, we'll see where that goes. And it's, of course, more propaganda, more lies, more distortions of the truth with regard to the data, the inflation data, the producer prices today. It's just, look, man, it's more of the same, in fact, worse. In my opinion, and it's too bad, really. People are being distracted and deceived, as they always are. Look over there, everyone. Keep looking over here. Don't look over there. And that situation is, unfortunately, it's going to lead to a lot of people to suffering on a biblical scale. I've been telling people this for a long time. That's where we're going.
Silver isn't just money, it's the backbone of modern industry. While gold sits in vaults as a store of value, silver is actively consumed in the technologies that power the future. And demand isn't just rising, it's accelerating at a pace the market isn't prepared for. Consider this, industrial use now accounts for 60% of global silver consumption, up from 50% just 5 years ago. The driving force? The global push for renewable energy, electrification, and advanced technology. Silver is irreplaceable in these industries. It's the most conductive metal on Earth, meaning it plays a critical role in everything from high-efficiency solar panels to 5G networks and electric vehicles. Solar alone is rewriting the rules. In 2024, China installed a record number of solar panels, consuming roughly 65 million ounces of silver in just 1 year. That's nearly a quarter of the world's industrial silver supply. And it's not stopping. Next-generation photovoltaic cells require even more silver per unit, meaning demand will only increase as nations race toward net zero emissions. Then there's the electric vehicle revolution. The average EV requires up to 50 grams of silver, almost double that of a traditional gasoline car. With global EV sales surging, automakers are facing a harsh reality. Silver is essential, but supplies are shrinking. And once shortages become widespread, prices won't just rise. They'll explode. But here's what most people don't realize. Unlike other industrial metals, silver has no true replacement. Substitutes like copper or aluminum don't come close to matching its performance. This means manufacturers have no choice but to pay whatever price the market demands. And that's where the opportunity lies. Investors who understand silver's industrial dominance see what's coming. A market where industrial users and financial buyers fight over the same limited supply. When that battle begins, the price of silver won't just rise, it will break through resistance levels and enter a full-blown supercycle. But there's another key factor that makes silver even more explosive: the historic gold-silver ratio. And if history tells us anything, it's that silver is more undervalued right now than it has been in decades.
I believe we're going to see a significant, or should I say a profound sell-off in the debt market, meaning we should see the 10-year yield spike like 20, 30, 40 basis points in a day, and then followed by another big sell-off, another big spike like that, big sell-off, big moves in higher with regard to the 10-year yield. It's going to happen. It's just a matter of time, in my opinion. So right now, we've been seeing the 10-year yield whipsaw. And, look, I think central banks are going to get in here and buy more debt until they have it all, until they really have their full, I think, for the most part, they already have a stranglehold on everything, but they want to finish it. And the finishing here is going to be a grand finale on a scale people aren't going to believe, because really what it's going to boil down to, I mean, everyone's concerned about the stock market. That's where they want you to look. If CNBC, Bloomberg, Fox News, the stock market. It's not even the whole stock market. They want you to look at the Dow, which is only 30 companies. It's an incredible thing. It's a psyop on a massive scale. The debt market's driving everything right now. We all know that. Anybody who follows our work has been well versed in how this system, this freak show operates here. So, I mean, that's my take on it with regard to the debt market and the instability here. I believe that central banks are going to look for every avenue possible to buy more, to issue more debt through one door, and then buy it back through another door. I mean, we just found out that the trade imbalances are out of control here, records, what people are not prepared to see here in the United States. I mean, the people that follow our work are well prepared to see this, but debts and deficits are going to hyperballoon from here, and there's no stopping it. And the bigger picture is there's not a single roadblock right now being put in front of the tsunami of inflation that's going to hit us. It's already starting. It's just starting. So and people don't understand where this is going. Again, we need real action here on a massive scale. We don't need to take over the Panama Canal. President Trump is looking for military options right now, which include partnering with their military here and even seizing the Panama Canal by force. I don't think that's going to work out too well. And then annexing Greenland here because we need their resources, of course. This isn't going to help anything right now. I think the world right now is in the worst spot it can possibly be. But again, no surprise to anyone that follows our work. You and I have been explaining that we need to be prepared for a worst case scenario way before the Trump selection here. It's been coming apart piece by piece, deliberately. Nothing is by accident. No comedy of errors got us here. Every single piece of information that we have right now, where we see things going, it's all been thought out, and now we're living in it, and it's going to be interesting.
The gold-silver ratio is screaming opportunity, but almost no one is paying attention. For decades, this ratio has been a key signal for investors looking to time the precious metals market. And right now, it's flashing one of the strongest buy signals in history. Historically, the gold-silver ratio hovers around 55 to 60.11. That means, on average, 1 ounce of gold is worth 55 to 60 ounces of silver. But today, the ratio is sitting at an extreme 90.1, meaning silver is historically undervalued compared to gold. And every time the ratio reaches these levels, silver doesn't just correct, it surges. Look at past cycles. In 1980, the ratio collapsed from 90.1 to 32:1 as silver soared from under $6 to nearly $50. In 2011, it dropped again, from 80.1 to 32:1 as silver rocketed to $40 an ounce. Now we're sitting at another historically high ratio, and if history repeats, silver could experience the same kind of explosive breakout. Here's why this matters. Central banks are accumulating gold at record levels. They know fiat currencies are on borrowed time, and they're preparing for a reset. But while gold has been bid up, silver has remained artificially low, making it one of the most asymmetric bets in the financial markets. And here's the kicker. While gold is largely hoarded by central banks, silver remains untouched by them. This means when the floodgates open and institutions start piling into silver, the move could be even more dramatic than gold's. Some analysts predict that once silver decisively breaks $35 an ounce, the rush into the market will be unlike anything we've seen before. And there's another hidden time bomb that could make silver's rally even more violent: the paper silver market. Most investors don't realize it, but the silver they think they own might not even exist. The next phase of silver's rise won't just be about demand, it will be about exposure and the unraveling of one of the biggest deceptions in the market.
Dude, it's the most important thing people need to do from a financial standpoint, okay? You gotta understand that you gotta be on the opposite side of this trade. Look, what we're witnessing here is the largest wealth transfer scheme the world has ever seen. It's been going on for quite a long time. The shoveling of wealth right up to the 1% and 2% via this mechanism of easy money, artificially suppressed rates, currency devaluation, which is a wrecking machine for the world economy. You can't have your cake and eat it too. The mechanism here is wiping out the middle class around the entire world, and people are sitting back and doing nothing. And it's kind of interesting. I brought up yesterday the whiskey rebellion, the whiskey tax rebellion of 1791 lasted 3 years. People went up in revolt from 1791 to 1793 or 4, so along those lines, because they were getting taxed on whiskey. That's what people did back then. You see, back then, the government was afraid of the people, which means the people were free. Today, people are afraid of the government, which means we're slaves. This is tyranny, or the definition of. That's what's happening here right now. But people need to continue to bet against the system. And I think the ultimate way to do that is, I've never wavered from this, is to hold gold. Silver especially remains my most favorite asset of all time. You need to be doing that. And it's much bigger than that. People, we need to all come together, man. We're being systematically erased. And if people don't start pushing back, again, like I said, a rebellion over whiskey tax, a violent rebellion over tax on whiskey, 1791. Today, people get smacked across the face, backhand, forward hand, kicked in the teeth, and what do? They go sit in a corner and cry about it. They don't take any action. And that's the reason why we're here now. That's kind of it.
The silver market is built on a house of cards, and when it collapses, the price surge will be unlike anything we've seen before. Right now, there are far more paper claims to silver than there is actual physical metal. This is the hidden time bomb, one that could detonate at any moment. Here's how it works. When investors buy silver through exchange-traded funds, ETFs, or futures contracts, they often assume they're getting real physical silver. But in reality, these markets operate on a system of fractional reserves, meaning for every ounce of silver promised on paper, there are multiple claims stacked on top of it. The most glaring example? The COMEX and LBMA vaults, where inventories have been steadily drained for years. Since 2021, registered silver holdings have plummeted by 40–50%, while demand for physical delivery has surged. The result? A growing risk that one day when too many investors ask for their silver at the same time, the system won't be able to deliver. And here's where it gets even crazier. Some large institutions are already catching on. In late 2024, a German solar manufacturer bypassed the traditional market and converted $50 million worth of silver ETF holdings directly into physical silver. This is a major warning sign. When industrial users start treating paper silver as unreliable, you know the system is on the edge of breaking. So what happens when this paper silver scam unravels? We get a short squeeze, unlike anything we've seen before. It's happened before. In 1980, the Hunt brothers tried to corner the silver market. sending prices soaring from $6 to $50 in a matter of months. In 2021, retail investors attempted a silver squeeze, triggering a short-term price spike before market manipulation crushed the momentum. But this time, it won't be a temporary surge. It will be a structural reset. And here's the key. When the silver market breaks, the biggest winners won't just be those holding physical silver. Silver mining stocks, which have lagged behind for years, could see gains of 500% or more as prices explode. The stage is set. Silver is primed for a breakout, but the biggest returns might not come from the metal itself. They could come from the companies that pull it from the ground. And if history tells us anything, silver miners could be the hidden gold mine in this unfolding crisis.
First of all, Besson is a tool. He is the definition of a tool, in my opinion. Everything that's come out of that man's mouth, including what came out of his mouth today, is a lie. Again, the U.S. Treasury Secretary is nothing but a peddler of U.S. debt, trying to get foreigners to buy debt. We're done here. And with regard to, you know the whole thing behind the Mar-a-Lago Accord. The Mar-a-Lago Accord is nothing but a debt restructuring scheme. What they're going to do here is, you can't make this up if you try to. Okay, so they're going to be either forcing or offering foreign investors of debt the opportunity to swap out the debt that they currently have for 100-year non-coupon. In other words, they pay no interest debt. 100-year non-coupon debt. What's the perks? There are two perks to this. Why a foreign nation, would have to be a foreign nation, obviously, would be interested in something like this. Perk number one, they get to buy the 100-year bond below face value, which means eventually the debt will become due, of course, and will be payable in 100 years. The bigger perk behind the Mar-a-Lago Accord is going to make the Fed way stronger than it is right now. So any nation that's going to buy these 100-year non-coupon bonds will have the privilege to borrow against the bond and the Federal Reserve will fund it for next, I think it may even be zero or very close to zero. So this is sending the world two messages. Number one, we can't pay our debt back. We cannot pay our interest on our debt. It's a desperate move here. Number two, it's allowing, in this case, the Fed to vastly inflate on the back of this, and this is their sole power. If I've been telling people on your show and everywhere else, if we can find a way, if we had a real leader, which we do not, all right, and Kamala would have been just as bad, or any other creature that wanted to put behind the Resolute desk, that we could find some way to stop the Fed from inflating, we win. Until that point, we will continue to lose and lose big. So I believe the Mar-a-Lago Accord is probably going to happen, and it's a massive win, of course, for the Federal Reserve, along with this other win that they're going to be handed by President Trump signing this executive order to allow companies like BlackRock, who have become the crypto whales, who have access to the Federal Reserve's national payment system. I mean, Brian Moynihan, I just wanted to point out this one guy. I've been talking about him a lately, the CEO of Bank of America, said he's all for it. All we need to do is flip that switch. It's too simple to see. We're being led to the slaughter, bro. No more. We're leading ourselves. But you and me, at least, we're doing our part to enlighten people as to what's going on.
While most investors focus on silver's spot price, the real money in a silver bull market has historically been made elsewhere, silver mining stocks. And right now, they are sitting on one of the most explosive setups in decades. Here's why. Unlike gold miners, which typically enjoy high profit margins, silver miners have struggled for years. That's because silver mining is different. Most of the world's silver isn't mined directly, but is a byproduct of base metal mining, extracted alongside copper, lead, and zinc. This means that pure silver miners are rare, and when silver prices are low, they barely break even. But when silver surges, these companies see exponential gains. Take the last major silver bull runs. Between 2008 and 2011, silver mining stocks outperformed silver itself by 300 to 500%. Companies like First Majestic Silver, Hecla Mining, and Pan American Silver saw massive price increases as silver ran toward $50 an ounce. And now history is repeating. The sector is already seeing a wave of mergers and acquisitions, as big players position themselves for the next rally. In 2024, First Majestic Silver acquired Sierra Silver for $1.2 billion, and Hecla Mining expanded its reserves by taking over Silvercrest Metals. This consolidation signals one thing: smart money is accumulating, and they know where this market is heading. And here's where it gets even more interesting. Junior silver miners, the smaller exploration companies sitting on untapped silver deposits, have the highest upside potential. Eric Sprott, one of the most respected silver investors in the world, recently pointed to junior miners with fully de-risked projects as the biggest opportunities in the coming rally. These companies often see the most extreme price movements, turning small investments into massive returns. But time is running out. When silver breaks past critical resistance levels, especially $35 an ounce, the mining sector will wake up. And once institutional money floods into silver stocks, the best opportunities will be gone. Silver miners are the hidden leverage play in this financial shift. They offer the kind of gains that physical silver alone simply can't match. But with silver already moving, the window to get in before the explosion is closing fast. And that brings us to the final and most important question. With the world on the brink of a financial reset, where does silver go from here?
The global economy, and this is not new. This has been going on for quite a while now. We've even spoken about it, I'm sure, in previous episodes. Is contracting rapidly. At the same time, I mean, the paradox is an incredible thing. At the same time, we got global debt ballooning at its fastest pace. What's the common denominator? We got to look for commonalities. The common denominator here is so glaringly in our face here. It's central banks running the entire show, running us into the ground, preparing to push us into a new system. President Trump's going to be signing an executive order allowing cryptocurrencies, companies like BlackRock, access to the Federal Reserve's payment system. This is a godsend, or sent from the devil, however you want to look at it, for the Federal Reserve. This is a massive win. This is exactly what the Fed wants as a bridge into the new system. Everyone knows it's coming. But again, there's no pushback. There's a lot of people that are not into it. They don't want to see that we don't need to be adding Bitcoin or any of these other cryptocurrencies to our strategic reserves. It's an interesting thing. We've been hearing for weeks now how there's possibly no gold at Fort Knox, right? President Trump keeps talking about it, and his sidekick over there, Elon Musk, I call him the little man. I don't care how rich he is. It doesn't matter to me, but the little man over there, where's the rush to get over to see if it's gone? You notice there's no real rush over there. We keep hearing about it. They're both talking about it, but no one's going over to check it out. I think there's a grand theft going on right now. If there's no gold there, it's because Trump and Musk are finding a way to get it out and push it to whoever they want to right now. And they're just buying time if there's no gold. But again, look at what we're doing. Instead of adding gold, instead of adding silver to our strategic reserves, regardless of what may or may not be in Fort Knox or presently being stolen out of there right under our noses, as President Trump is telling us to look here and don't look over there, of course. We're not doing that. We're not adding to our strategic reserves of gold and silver. This should tell everyone what's happening, and it's too easy to understand what's going on, in my opinion. But again, we have a situation that you and I, again, have been talking about for I don't know how long, bro. We've been warning, we've been telling, you and I, and there's other people like us who've been really saying, hey man, you know what? Start paying attention, people, because things are not what they appear to be.
Silver isn't just another investment. It's a signal of the times. The cracks in the global financial system are widening, and history is repeating itself. Every major monetary collapse, every inflationary crisis, and every debt-fueled economic meltdown has one thing in common. When trust in paper money fails, real asset creditors solicits. Vancouver. And silver? It's still one of the most undervalued assets on the planet. The supply deficit is growing. Industrial demand is accelerating. The gold-silver ratio is screaming for a massive revaluation. And the paper-silver market is hanging on by a thread. Every single factor points to one conclusion. Silver is on the verge of a historic breakout. And those who see it now before the mainstream catches on have the chance to position themselves ahead of what could be the greatest wealth transfer in modern history. But this isn't about hype. It's about understanding cycles. It's about looking at the forces driving this market and recognizing that silver isn't just a metal, it's financial insurance. The smart money is already moving. Billionaires, central banks, and major institutions are shifting their strategies, quietly accumulating hard assets while the average investor chases bubbles elsewhere. The moment silver breaks its key resistance levels, the floodgates will open. The only question left is, will you be ahead of the curve, or will you be left watching from the sidelines as history unfolds? If you want to stay ahead of these seismic shifts in the financial system, make sure to stay informed, subscribe for real insights, and always do your own research. And remember, this is not financial advice. Always consult with a professional before making any investment decisions.
Number one, reconnect with the source, God Almighty. That's number one. Number two, start reconnecting with people in your own neighborhood, like-minded people, quite obviously. Make friends with people. People today, I mean, they don't go out. They barely interact with each other anymore. They become socially isolated. And this is what they want. They can't have people coming together, because then we become powerful. They can't allow that to happen. They have to keep people separated, divided, at each other's throats. It's the oldest trick in the book, man. Divide and conquer, divide and conquer, divide and conquer. And we are, make no mistake, everyone who's listening to this right now, a conquered society, here in the United States especially. And that is their goal, is, again, to not allow people to unify, to not allow people to come together to elicit change. And by psyoping people into either one camp or the other, they win. And they've completely won. Every goal so far that they've been working towards here, to achieve, to push us in the direction that they want, we're nothing. We are a means to an end. And as I've been warning about, and you too, both of us have been saying this, they're wiping us out. This is we're going back to some type of a neo-feudalism, overlords here. It's an erasure of the middle class, and with pressure on the middle class. And I've been explaining to people for a very long time, it's gonna get a lot worse. So they need, again, it's about dependency on the current system. That's why I believe we're not done with seeing central banks buy it all. They're not done creating more dependency on the system. And when they feel that they reach that goal, they have enough people dependent on the current system. Right now, all the groundwork is being laid out, pushing us into the new system. President Trump's executive order just yesterday, a lot of what he's been doing here, again, setting the Federal Reserve up to succeed. A lot of people still have all of the delusion that the Federal Reserve is going to be going away. The Federal Reserve is going to be monumentally stronger. Who's going to support all the stuff that's going on here? The annexation of Greenland, for example, a possible military action here in Panama. Is it where are we getting the funds from this? We don't have it. We're completely broke. So I'm going to give everyone one guess as to where this is coming from. Who's going to be more than happy to lend whatever we need to annex Greenland or to, take over the Panama Canal? I mean, people, wake up, man. There are a bunch of people that really are so blinded and so conquered mentally, they can't function at all. And it's a shame. And it's usually the minority. I think this is the minority of people, but it's a minority that drags down the majority. We need to take it back. And unfortunately, it's not going to happen. We've reached the point of no return. So people need to prepare for impact. In other words, they got to prepare for what you and I have been saying for the longest time, for a worst case scenario, because that's where we're going.